right, welcome into Big Hitters Only. It's Monday, December 23rd at 11:04 a.m. Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. We have a special guest. We have Tyler Hansbrough, four-time first-team All-American, 2009 National Champion, joining us along with producer Connor and Spenser Dalton, a UNC walk-on. We're going to recap. We haven't talked to y'all in a while, so we're going to recap the loss to Florida. UNC fell 90-84, and then Saturday's game, UCLA, UNC in Madison Square Garden. UNC won 76-74 to enter Christmas with a 7-5 record and get a pretty big ranked win, and a big win when we look back at it in a couple months for NCAA tournament stuff. What's up, Tyler? Welcome to Big Hitters Only.
Hey, man, it's an honor to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and pub your podcast real quick. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I always enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, Sleep Hawk Worldwide. Check us out. We cover the games. We're a little sporadic with our schedule, but we get out there and we try to cover the big ones and pretty much give our opinions on anything and everything UNC. And, sometimes we dabble into, current hot topics.
Yeah, I actually love the podcast. I'm always a little bit behind, but I try to catch up. Sleep's a great podcast host, and Tyler brings it, and no one better to talk Tar Heels. All right, let's get right into it. UNC basketball. Tyler, give me what's your general take on this team? What are your thoughts, coming off these two games, the last win? Like, give us something to go off, and we'll riff from there.
Well, I'll start out with the big glaring issue, and that is we must start games better. And it seems, every big time game that we've played, we've fallen down in double digits in the first half. And it seems like we're starting the games out taking haymakers. And for this team, we can't continue to do that. I will just say, I've always said, now this is going to be a positive. I always thought that this team would be better later in the year, just because I felt like Jackson and Drake Powell are too talented, and they're going to continue to develop and get better and be a bigger part of this team as the season goes on. And I think their roles are going to continue to grow. And also, there's a lot of guys on this team that are, receiving a lot more minutes than they've ever had, and they're still trying to find themselves as players outside of RJ. And I thought that, that we could get off to a little rocky start just because our schedule was so tough in the beginning. And we have played one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule in college basketball. So you got to give them credit with that. But with that said, we've got to, like, the UCLA win is so important because the ACC is so weak, and we needed some quality wins. And we need to have this team right now going into conference play. No more bad starts. We've got to get wins, because if we would have lost to UCLA and then lost to a weak ACC conference team, this team could have gone south. And that's why I was very encouraged by the way they fought against UCLA. But I think that this team is continuing to grow, and hopefully RJ he's kind of shown us some, hey, this is who you guys thought I would be, especially against Florida. He kind of hit some big shots late against UCLA. He's starting to find his rhythm and show us a little bit of flashes of who we thought he'd be this year. And when those two pieces, as far as the freshman and RJ, all that starts to clicking, I think we're going to be a much better team. But, there's a glaring hole, and that's the front court. And I will say, as an overall, I felt like the front court was taking a little bit too much heat, just because I didn't feel like our guard play wasn't up to par with the hype, that we had received preseason. We knew there's going to be some issues with size, length, but we thought we could rely on our guards, which, Seth Trimble's been unbelievable. He's been a positive. But there, we haven't really had the consistency. We've had, some lackadaisical turnovers and some bad shooting performances. But overall, I think this team is getting better. And, once we fix those, I think we'll be a much tougher team.
So let's get into the starts. Like, why does that happen? Like, how would Roy Williams get you all ready to play a game? Is it a coaching thing? Is it a coach needs to somehow do something differently leading up to the game, in the locker room, in warm-ups to motivate them? Is it purely motivation, or is it something the team's not doing? What would be your take on why? Because it is definitely a trend now. Like they're
Yeah.
going down double digits, 15 points every game against any quality opponent. Why is that? And how do you switch that? Like how do you make that? How do you fix it?
Well, I said on my pod, I said, listen, I can't figure this out because it's a head scratcher to me because, I initially thought, hey, you know what? They need to change up their warm ups, their routines, whatever they're doing pregame. Uh, you know, I they've twisted the lineup so much that
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like they're hovering on the a thin line of, if you start tweaking the lineup and minutes so much, players are going to start playing a little bit scared or nervous to make mistakes. I mean, they
Yeah.
changed it up the front court. Uh, Coach Williams used to do the hockey sub, where if guys weren't, playing, he would just go hockey sub, and then if those guys came in did the same hockey sub, right again. I always loved that, but I don't have the solution. I really do think that I like the idea of Drake playing going just the four guards, and then the way Ian's been playing, especially the
Yeah.
last two games, I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind seeing him in there. So,
He's found his groove for sure. Ian's been
He
great.
has.
yeah.
Honestly,
Absolutely.
I would feel pretty encouraged. So the slow starts is a problem in itself, but I will give credit to this year's UNC team. It could be really easy to quit. You go down 16, you're down 16 with 12 minutes left in the Garden against UCLA. They always will battle back, and that's the thing that I would implore fans that watch this team. If they're down 20, if they're up 20, you can't turn the TV off because it's always going to be a game at the end. Tyler, my next thing for you would be, how does a team have that mindset to always, when they're down double digits, to always claw back and fight back? Is that something that encourages you moving forward and something to build off of? Because it would be easy to quit and roll over in some of these games.
Absolutely. We've always gone down swinging, and no matter how
Yeah.
bad the start has been, um, we've given ourselves a chance to win. And I will say, the other thing is we claw back and we give ourselves a chance to win. But I think our late game execution down the stretch, especially against Florida, could have been a little bit better. Like when we do put ourselves in those positions to win, I, whether it's getting the rebound or even getting a quality shot on offense, you look at, I would just say, the in particular, the Kansas game comes to my mind. That last second kind
Yeah.
of, Cadeau NBA fader contested shot for the game. I felt like we could have got a little better quality look, or the securing the defensive rebound against Florida. That kind
Yep.
of, when they got that offensive board.
Mhm.
But when we do claw back, I give them credit. We fought back into these games and we have given ourselves a chance. But it is encouraging, but once we start to figure out how to make winning plays and boxing out and doing all these things and getting quality shots, I think that's when we'll start to, see some of these games,
Mm-hmm.
switch for us. And, we're still trying to figure that out. And, I think that with the freshmen in particular, I think, playing them, they give us more of a scoring option and weapons to get a quality shot because you can't leave Ian open on the 3-point line. He can score. Also, Drake can find his way to get a rebound. He's athletic. He can, figure out how to get tip ins and get
Yeah.
defensive possessions, defensive rebounds. So those are things that we need to clean up. And, once we do claw back into the game, how to figure out how to finish these things.
Yeah.
I would
So
go ahead.
go ahead, Rob. Well,
No, go ahead.
so in these comebacks, and particularly in the UCLA game, something that I noticed is that offensively, we were kind of matchup hunting in a way. There were guys we wanted to get. Ian Jackson guarded by Bilodeau. He was in foul trouble, or we felt we had a mismatch there. And in terms of finding a mismatch, at least in my somewhat limited experience playing for Coach Williams, like we didn't necessarily matchup hunt like that. And matchup hunting in a general sense is a little bit more of a professional attribute in the professional style game. So Tyler, I'd be interested to hear kind of your perspective on, how you think that strategy, has worked or doesn't work for the Tar Heels this year, and like, what matchups you do like, and if you really see that translating kind of long term from the pro style offense that Hubert has run, into Carolina.
Well, honestly, I'm not a big fan of matchup hunting. And the reason I say that is because I don't feel like we have the shooters to surround, players whenever we do look for mismatches. And
Yeah,
I think that one of this team's, challenges is when we do get into that half court set or half court style of basketball, that teams will load up in the paint
hmm
and they can load up on RJ, which at times is probably one of our only outside 3-point scoring threats consistently. Now, Seth's developed somewhat, but it's hard to go ISO matchup hunting when teams load up, and also professionally, the defense of 3 seconds is a huge
yeah,
deal. So it allows, for defensive, it allows the lane to open up and give guys more space. So I think when we go matchup hunting, I'm not a big fan of that, just because you just see it from every team. Like, teams are
yeah,
going to load up on RJ, and then the defense is just going to go inside, and just feels like, where we find that mismatch, we're trying to pry our way into, in between 3 or 4 guys, and we're just kicking it back out. And the defense is just, then we're just putting our head down, going back into a lane. And I just think sometimes, you look when we do that, we're always shooting a contested shot late in the shot clock, just because we haven't found the look or gotten what we wanted, and
yeah,
it's even
Yeah.
low quality shot. I'm
yeah.
not the
And
biggest fan. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think I think we that can be somewhat attributed to the slow starts, is that maybe it takes a little while to find those matchups. We just get a little bit too stagnant on offense, and we're not hitting. I mean, one of the things that happened against UCLA, and it's how we came back and how we kind of finished the end of the game as well, is that like we just hit shots. Roy Williams was famous for saying that like everything looks a lot better when the ball's going in the basket, and it did against UCLA. At times, it didn't go in against Florida. It didn't go in against Auburn or Michigan State or Kansas or whoever it was that we lost a close game to. So yeah, I was very interested to kind of hear your side on that, Tyler.
So let's get into like personnel and lineups and rosters. Ian Jackson has earned a starting spot. I'm not sure if he'll get a starting spot, but he has become, the last couple games, he's kind of broken out, had his 2 career highs, and really became a go-to shooter. He's played better than Drake, and man, he's with the ball in his hands, he's probably the best like pure scorer that UNC has. So Tyler and Spenser and Connor, like what's your favorite roster? What do you think is his best roster? Because you bring in and who is sitting? Is it Elliott? I mean, Elliott's had some turnover problems, but at moments he's been great. It's hard to take RJ and Seth out. And then which big man? I mean, I especially want your opinion on this, Tyler. Which big man is? I can't figure it out. Like, is it Van Allen Lubin? Jalen Withers hasn't played as much. You're seeing more of Ty Claude. Jalen Washington's kind of fallen off. It seems like Van Allen Lubin is the guy they're going with more. And then what do you think about the 4-guard lineup they rolled out to close out the UCLA game? They went RJ, Elliott, Seth, and Ian on the court with the big men. So, Tyler, you take it from there and just bounce off back and forth with some thoughts on that. Taking notes there.
Yeah. So as far as Ian and his improvement and what he's done, I was covering the Florida game for Field of 68, and I was blown away by just how good he was at times. And in my mind, I was like, this is unbelievable, but this is not sustainable. What he's doing out here is like something from, it looked like a hooper on the playground, just
Yeah.
making heat checks. And
Boss Life
lunch.
mixtape.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I call it playing hero basketball, and we can't expect him to have games like that. That was just an anomaly, and that was incredible. It was just like, get the guy the ball, he's going to score wherever he gets it. As far as my favorite lineups, Um, I am a big fan of, I think you have to figure out how to get more minutes for the freshmen just because I think their ceiling and their upside is going to continue to get better. And if you play them, which I'll give Hubert a lot of credit, he's played them early, which, if you don't play your freshmen early, then it's tough to rely on them middle of conference play or later on in the year to throw them out there and expect them to have a huge impact, which I think they've earned that confidence from the coaching staff and they've earned those big minutes from their play so far. And it's impressive, especially coming off the bench without having consistency and kind of doing it in sporadic minutes at times. Uh, I do like. I really like that he's thrown Drake in there. The only reason for that is because Drake provides a little bit of length and he
Mm-hmm.
can help us with rebounding, and he's super athletic. He can do more things and score. He can guard. Uh, at times he has shown some freshman flashes, but I'm a big fan of. I really like RJ, Seth, and Drake, and then one of those bigs. I think you've got to keep Elliott in there just because he's such a good passer. And I think with this shooting at times it could be a little bit of confidence or a little bit of a mental thing, but sometimes he does shoot. It seems like he forces a shot up every once in a while, but he's a very good passer and he's a very good finisher at the basket.
Hmm.
I really like that what he does. Um, somehow getting those guys minutes. RJ, Seth, and Drake, figuring out how to get those guys. It's just hard to get those guys in all at once
Yeah,
because their
Yeah.
yeah.
lack of size.
And
You
it's
got to
tough.
have.
Your best 4 players are under 6'4". So I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure, Tyler, obviously you played in the post in your time there. Does it kind of sting a little bit just seeing 4 guards out there and not the 2 traditional bigs? Or when they get out rebound, does that hurt a little more for you?
Well, it stings because I like these guards so much. I wish we could start them all, but they're too it's too small. It's not
Yeah.
possible, and we've got to, as far as the big, listen. Lubin has played smart, and listen, he is one of the hardest screeners out there, and that is a lot of people they'll laugh when you say that, but there's such a valuable thing, and it's a winning basketball play that a lot of fans won't notice or pay attention to. But
Yep.
with that said, he has been a starter. He's played quality minutes in the SEC. He's been around, and he does things around the rim that he's given us some positive lift at times. I love Ty Claude when he came in against Alabama. It just looked like, there's no way he could play, more than 5 minutes because he empties the tank out in about 3 minutes and he needs to come in and out. And sometimes there's a value of throwing a Ty Claude out there, letting him just mix it up, go in, get some hard fouls, bring some physicality.
Hmm.
That will weigh on
Yep.
the other team's bigs.
Yeah.
And listen, Jalen Washington is a great kid, and he has shooting touch, and he has touch around the rim. He has an outside shot, but his confidence in his shot right now is not where it needs to be. And I really hope he figures that out because if he does put that together, which he hasn't done this year, he is going to be he could really help this team.
He
Whatever
was
it needs
supposed
to
to be
be
the
done.
guy.
Yeah.
16 and a half. He's averaging 16 and a half minutes per game coming into the year. The whole thing was if Jalen Washington can take that leap and replace those Baycott minutes for 25, 27 minutes a game, then this team will be fine. But, it's tough when he's not able to do that. You have to kind of like scramble around for an answer at the 5 spot.
Yeah, and he's not the banger or he does a little more with length and
Yeah.
he's supposed to be a spread shooter. When that's not happening, it's he just needs to find his confidence and somehow I don't have the answer to that, whether that's more reps or just not putting so much pressure on yourself to
Yeah.
make shots whenever he's in the game.
Let's go
I think
through.
a few more paint touches would help him too. I mean, if you look at the way that the offense runs, there's just a lot of action in that middle third of the court out at the top of the key. We're running ball screens, we're running dribble handoffs, little rotations and weaves and things, and very few post entry passes. I mean, I remember 1 or 2 against UCLA, but it's hard as a 6'10" guy in Jalen Washington, like say you only get 10 touches a game, but 8 of them come like 20 feet or more from the basket, that's tough for a guy. He doesn't even get that opportunity to, shoot a little jump hook or, throw a shoulder into somebody.
Let's run through the minutes here. So just to kind of see, this is 12 games in. So we're about a third way through the season. And for big men, Vanal Lubin's playing 15.8 minutes per game. Now that's probably backloaded. He's playing more in the last couple of games. Jalen Washington, 16.6. Jalen Withers, who's gotten taken out of the starting lineup, is playing 18.1. And then Kate Tyson, he's kind of like that stretch four, is playing 9.6. He's played a little bit more. He played a lot more against Florida and UCLA than he did in the previous 4 or 5 games. And Ty Claude's at 5.3. So, I mean, Hubert hasn't really picked a guy to go with. It does seem like he rolls the dice a lot. In my opinion, it seems like Vanal Lubin is just the better choice because he can give you a little more scoring. He is more reliable as an interior scorer. When he gets the ball, 3 or 4 feet from the basket, he can do a little move and get to the hoop. He's just undersized. And this is the problem we've talked about all season long, Tyler. They're just undersized. And it's like, you don't want to talk about it, but that is a huge issue. In the Florida game, man, all Florida's guards were 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and like stacked. And then you look over at our team at UNC, and it's 5'11", 5'11", 6'2", and it just impacts the game, and it wears on you for rebounding, for defense, just the physicality. So lineup-wise, and Spencer, I'll get you jumping here on the lineup. I do like Drake and Ian because they're longer. You can put Ian at the 2 or 3, and he provides you a longer, more positional size. And then Drake will be undersized at the 4, but at least you have that athleticism and length. It was coaching malpractice not to get a big man or 2 big men that can score in the offseason. It's the thing we're always going to think about. Nothing we can do about it, but we missed on so many transfers. Spencer, what lineup do you like after the last couple of games that stands out to you?
Yeah. So just real quick on 2 guys in particular, like Elliott and RJ. Like, it's really hard having both of them in the game at the same time because they're both 6 feet-ish or smaller. Defensively, it's tough. Also, from an offensive perspective, they both touch the ball a lot. And so, they're dribblers, they're distributors. And so, like, you get a little bit of, like, clashing personalities on the offensive end, which I think can contribute to some of the stagnancy on the offensive ends sometimes. I just wanted to make that quick note. But, like, there was a lineup against Florida that actually helped us fuel the comeback, and I can't remember the exact lineup, but Cade Tyson was in there a lot. Ian Jackson was in there a lot. Rotating bigs, either Washington or Lubin, and I guess Trimble as well. So I kind of like that lineup. Like, as crazy as it is with Cade Tyson, statistically speaking, not making huge contributions. We've seen he can get hot and, hit some buckets sometimes, but like just having that bigger body in there, I think is a really interesting thing to go towards. I think a lineup that I would love to see work out really well would be Washington, Withers, and then really any combination of the other 3 guards.
They tried
ideally,
that, though. Beginning of the year, that was the lineup.
I know. And again, I wish it would work. Just to have 6'9" and 6'10" in there, like, that's not necessarily what you would categorize as a small lineup. Especially with Ian or Drake in there at 6'5", 6'6", like, and then RJ or Elliott at the guard, like, that's not a small lineup. That's 6'10", 6'9", 6'6", 6'5", 6'1". That's not that small of a lineup. So it's tough. Like, I think one of the things that happens is we get off to these slow starts, and so we spend 20 minutes trying to figure out who's got a hot hand, and then somebody finds their hand to be hot, like with 15 minutes left in the second half, and it fuels a comeback. So somebody stepping up and actually like figuring out if they're going to have a game or not in the first half would be awesome.
Tyler, what would you like to see out of this team, like offensively, that would make them like? And you played the game way more than us. Like, what would you like to see to improve on offensively in terms of what they're running, the type of offense they run? I think this team's going to have to get out and transition more, and defensively as well. Like, give us a little bit more of the insider, the guys played a lot more ball than us.
The big hitting analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, this isn't high IQ talk here. We've got to get better quality looks. I think a lot of shots that we're shooting are contested, or they're just one-on-one make a play
Yeah.
type, situations in the half court. And you're right. And the reason I've always said that this team has to play with pace and they have to get out in the transition and really push it is because they lack size and they lack shooters. And when you play a fast pace or a fast break type of style of basketball, it promotes layups, it promotes shots at the rim, and it doesn't allow the defense to get down there when if you play slower, the defense can set up, load up, and prevent those type of shots and, encourage you to shoot contested or outside shots, which we're not good at right now. So sometimes I think our best offense is when we play really good defense, and there's no
Yeah.
and the reason I say that is because we've got to force teams to turn the ball over. And when they do turn it over, we've got to get out and run. And I think that is going to start our fast breaks and lead to better quality buckets. And we have the ability to do that. We have fast guards that can get out there and really pressure the ball. Elliott, Drake, RJ, Seth's done it. All those guys, they can really get out there and put a lot of pressure on those guards to turn them over. And when we do that, I think it's going to lead to us getting quality buckets. And we've got to start with more energy. And,
Yeah.
sometimes, we don't need to be taking haymakers to really wake up to start games. This isn't like, something or, news breaking. We've got to start games earlier. And that's on, I really don't think that's on the coaching staff. I think that's on the players, respecting the game and coming out there and being ready. And I think they've got to improve that. As far as when we get into the half court sets, listen, we can't keep pounding the ball and then pointing at the big to come out there and set a screen and then just going around and then as the big rolls, passing it and then having the other guard pound the ball and then point the big to come
Yeah.
out there and set a screen roll. First of all, that big is just completely exhausted. I could never
Yep.
do that, in the best shape of my life. I would be like, no, I'm not doing a third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, and we've got to get more off the ball movement. And what I mean by that is whenever guys are, trying to penetrate and get the ball inside, we've got to have guys cut. And too many times off the ball, the guards are just standing still waiting for a pass. And I really believe that whenever, Elliott does penetrate and get the ball inside, listen, he is a good passer. If you put yourself in scoring position or the big moves, whenever that help side defender comes over, he is very good at dumping the ball off and finding that person. And I think our guards could do that better as well. I think Drake and all those guys can really figure out how to get in the lane whenever RJ,
Mhm.
Seth, or whatever penetrates those dump offs. And whenever that happens, you get the defense scrambling. That's when you can move the ball really quick and get better quality looks.
Last little thing I had written down here. This has to do with RJ Davis. Obviously, preseason expectations through the roof, and rightfully so. He struggled early this year. He's taken the same amount of threes per game, almost 80 game, but he's shooting 25% as opposed to 40% last year. And the theory I have is that there's no elite post presence, no Armando Bacot to take the defensive attention away from him. If you're Coach Davis, if you're the other guys on the team, how do you look to get him better shots? Because it does seem like he gets the ball, he gets a grenade with 5 on the shot clock, and you have to hit a step back 3 over a guy that's 6 inches taller than you. So how do you work him into better shots without that post presence? Because I do think that hurts him this year.
Yeah, and listen, every shot that he's, I watched the Alabama game. I mean, I was working the Alabama game, and I remember just like, man, I just like every shot that RJ is taking is so contested, and he has to work to even get up a shot.
It wasn't like that last year.
Yeah,
It was swings to the corner. He's wide open.
and you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, when you have Armando and, he takes a majority of the defensive, presence or attention, that helped. But listen, RJ is the center focus of the defense. There's no
Yeah.
he is our only proven scorer. And so teams are going to scout him. They know what he's doing. And listen, when you play Carolina, the other coaches, we've got to guard this guy in whenever they're doing their walkthroughs the day of, or they're scouting, preparing for us. So what, I would do is I wouldn't be so predictable. I'd try to get out and run in transition, first of all. And I would, see if I can't, move better off the ball whenever they do penetrate. What I mean by that is, sometimes I'd run a little more of a hammer action to get them open. And then whenever my man does, whenever Elliott penetrates, I would have a little bit off the ball movement. That way it engages the offside defense and it puts them in a more of a scramble position. But my thing with RJ, I think he's going to get better looks when we get more scoring options on the court, like in a Drake. And I think that's going to open things up for him. That's just because the defense right now is going to have to pay attention to those guys whenever they do, get on the court as well.
All right, we're gonna get you out of here. I got some off-topic stuff quickly, Todd. Some quick hitters for you. All right.
All right.
We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Give us. You played 3 seasons in China. Give us your craziest, weirdest story from anything related to your time in China.
Oh man, listen, I can go anywhere. China is. I'm not sure people believe half the stories I tell them about China. The most impressive thing I've ever seen in sport is my first season in China. My coach, he always smoked a cigarette in the locker room. And one game he was on the edge and he was going through the pregame talk. And of course, I had my translator sitting there and he was drawing on the board and he was just yelling, but he had a cigarette in his mouth. And he didn't take the cigarette out and he was talking out the other side of his mouth in Chinese and then puffing and he burned down the whole cigarette during that whole speech and didn't even take it out of his mouth to take a puff. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And I was sitting
You don't see that he's not, do you?
I was like, he just burnt that whole cigarette down.
So you have a translator next to you, like speaking in your ear about what he's saying?
Yeah, they have a translator, and they have 2 or 3 translators, and they're always talking to you, telling what the coach is saying. And after my first year, I said goodbye to my coach. I loved my coach my first year. He was a really good coach, but man, they practice hard. And as I was leaving, my coach came over. He's like, "Hey, I really enjoyed having you on the team. Thanks for coming out," in English. I said, "What?" I said, "Do you know English?" And he's like, "Oh, a little bit." And the trainer's like, "Oh, yeah, he just didn't want you to know that he knows English and can speak it. He just wanted to make, wanted to you to be able to speak whatever and him know." So I was like, "All right."
Any crazy food or cultural stuff that you were just like, man, this is crazy? I can't imagine living there.
Oh man, it's the different areas in China are so different. Like southern China versus northern China is so different. The food is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
it is in it was northeast China. The lamb is just unbelievable. That was really good. My friend did eat snake that went with
Ooh.
me. There's no way I'm touching snake. Um, but the food is much better than you think. I mean,
yeah.
it is.
Sure, it's
yeah,
great.
it's pretty good.
China or Chapel Hill food? What's better?
Depends on which area of China.
The
Okay.
lamb, northeast China lamb. All right.
You don't find it on Franklin.
What do you think about Bill Belichick? I mean, you're a mover and shaker in town. You got connections with alums. What do you think about Bill Belichick leading the football team? Give us your take.
I was disappointed he didn't answer your question. First of all,
Yeah, bullshit.
I was watching that. I was like, what? But I love, man, Chapel Bill, Billy B coming to town. I love it, man. I've never heard so much enthusiasm for our football program. I didn't even know that Belichick was connected to UNC football until he got the job. And I'll be dang, his first words were beat.
I believe that,
I
right?
never
100%.
heard that
Yeah.
until he got the head coaching job. But I'm excited, man. I think this was a no-brainer. I mean, if you get a chance, I'm still in awe that we got Bill Belichick as our football coach. I just can't digest it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
All right, and finally, so you're one of the most famous UNC players of all time, especially for our generation. The last 30 years of UNC basketball. How often you get stopped? I mean, you get stopped every day for signatures and photos and stuff. Is that annoying? Any crazy stories with just how recognizable you are in the state of North Carolina?
It doesn't bother me at all. It's just amazing how many Duke fans ask for pictures or autographs. It's just like
Really?
I'm always, oh yeah, they're just, I'm a Duke fan, and it's just amazing how many people ask for autographs that it's not for them, or yeah, it's just
I'll be
it
honest. As a
doesn't bother
Carolina
me.
guy, I would not go ask Kyle Singler for an autograph or Greg Paulus. I don't want any of that.
Well, you're also comparing
keep the
Tyler
rivalry.
to two lesser players.
Facts. Big facts, Ross.
I always tell them, sometimes like, well, you look like a Duke fan, and they're like, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, you're not from New York, first of all. You're not a Northerner, and you're not uppity. So
Probably a Cowboys fan too, Lakers guy.
yeah.
All right, Tyler, we appreciate your time on Big Hitters Only. Guys, listen to Sleep Hawk Worldwide. Tyler's also, are you calling some more games for the Tar Heel Sports Network?
Yeah, I'll be on the Louisville game on the 1st. So tune
Great. I
in.
think it's first road ACC game for the Tar Heels. And then also you get on Field of 68 with Jeff Goodman and crew.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Check us out. I'm not sure when I'll be back on there, but yeah, I'm on there randomly. So tune in.
All right, appreciate it. We're going to stay on,
right.
Tyler, but we appreciate your time, man. See you, dude.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
Tyler.
one. All right,
Thanks,
see ya.
Tyler. See ya.
Awesome. That was great. Anything y'all want to kind of chop up about to close this out? Anything that stood out to you last two games? Let's just go through the schedule here. So UNC 7-5 with the win over UCLA. I honestly think like the Florida game was so winnable, and really you go through all these games. I mean, they hit a 3, against Michigan State or against Kansas. They definitely could have won those games too. So you think about it that way, a lot of what ifs. But Campbell is on Sunday, so a little break here for the holidays, and then at Louisville on January 1st, and then at Notre Dame on January 4th. So those are the next 3 games. Spenser, any takes? Just chop it up for 10 minutes here and close out kind of this portion of the season as we move into ACC play.
Yeah, you don't want to look too far forward. You always want to be focused on the next game, the next day, so to speak. But we don't have to do that as podcasters or journalists or whatever you want to categorize us as. Like, thinking about the big picture, thinking about our NCAA tournament hopes. If you see 7-5, say we're at the start of the season, and you said, yeah, going into the end of December, we're going to be 7-5. A lot of people are going to be like panicking really bad, and I think people definitely are panicking, and understandably and perhaps rightfully so. But this win against UCLA was very helpful. You always have to keep in mind the resume. We still have a fair amount of quad 1 opportunities. They flashed a graphic on CBS during the game on Saturday. We've got Duke twice. We've got Pitt twice. Louisville is a quad 1. I think we got 1 or 2 other ones. Clemson. So we've still got plenty of quad 1 opportunities. And I mean, we can win all of those games in theory. Going to be tough to beat Duke twice, I think, but it could happen. So not all is lost, and we're not going to be a number 1 seed. We're not going to be a 2 seed. We're not going to be a 3 seed. Even if we go on this run, we have this incredible ACC regular season. We win the ACC tournament or something like that. Again, we've just got too many losses to. I think to good teams for us to be a 1 seed, and there are too many good teams, in a general sense that we're just. I don't think we're going to end up as a 1, 2, 3 seed. But we've seen how dangerous the Heels can be as 7, 8, 9 seed. Like obviously the run in 2022, we were an 8 or a 9. So you just really hope that Carolina can put a solid enough regular season ACC together, not lose more than 2 or 3 games, and make a decent run in the ACC tournament, and then end up in the big dance at the end of the year.
I can't help but I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. I can't help but look towards next year, where if Ian Jackson and Drake Powell are actual NBA lottery picks, RJ's gone. what does this team look like next year?
Yeah.
Like, do we need to hold on to this season and enjoy it and take the most out of it? Because I don't know if I'm ready to push the panic button on next year, but it looks pretty grim, especially if both these freshmen are gone to the league.
I have those same fears.
They look to next season. I'm not sure about that.
It worries me.
Hey,
it worries me, Ross. It worries me, Ross.
May have a new head coach next season for all we know. I mean, it could go south quickly. I mean, you never know. I mean, the margins are so small. They don't have much room. I mean, you're saying three or four losses, like shit. I mean, we could go 500 in the ACC. Who knows? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
The ACC's not great, but the ACC's not great, but UNC's not great either. Yeah, ACC's bad. There's only 2 ranked teams, number 5 Duke and number 25 Clemson. A new AP poll comes out today.
You got to split with Duke, right? You have to
split with Duke. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see it happening. So, I mean, one game at a time here, but I want them to see. I want to see the freshmen play a lot. Like, I think Ian and Drake are like the 2 best players on this team long term, and then get out and run, and you got to hit more threes. Like, it has to be a running gun team. And so you got to make more threes. I think it's really the difference right now. They went 0 for 9, I think, to start the Florida game before hitting one in the final 4 minutes of the first half. Like, there's not hitting. If this team hits threes at a clip like it did last year, or in the seasons where they're shooting really well, like, it's a completely different story. But your shooters have to make shots, and Kay Tyson has to come in and make 2 threes, and then the big man like Jalen Withers, Jalen Washington come in and hit a 3, and then RG has to get back on track. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think that's the route for this team to really get better is to play the freshmen and let Ian Jackson have like 18, 20-point games. Drake Powell comes in, gives you 10 points, 8 rebounds, steal, and a block, and then RJ, Cadeau, and Trimble kind of between the 3 of them, score 40 points or something and just rain threes and run and gun and get out. When they're like Tyler said, defense, like when they're pressuring teams and using their athleticism and speed, like they're really good out in transition and they're forcing some issues. You just can't rely on this half court sets, and like the big man is just, I don't see the big man situation getting any better.
Yeah, Tyler was talking a lot about off ball movement, and I mentioned that before on the podcast. Like, it's really frustrating to watch us dribble the ball 8 times, set a ball screen, and then the other 3 guys on the court have stood in the same spot for 20, 25 seconds of the shot clock. It's really, really frustrating. And, playing 4 guards and 1 post is not some new thing. Like, yes, it's newer to Carolina basketball, like traditionally speaking, but it's not like it's some new thing. Like, 4 out, 1 in is the way everybody plays these days, So, like, we've just got to find something to like just get us moving more, man. Like, I don't think I've seen somebody like make a backdoor cut and like go all season. Like, set your man up, walk him up the court, put your shoulder into his chest, not in a like physical, I'm pushing you way, but just make a hard, aggressive, fundamental move, cut backdoor, do the same thing in the opposite direction. Like, one thing I'm not seeing a lot is like guys doing the right things to get open on the perimeter just to catch the ball. One thing that's like that people don't realize in college that you have to do because the defense is so tight is that you have to set your defender up just to catch the ball. I mean, like, again, I was just a walk-on, but like that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn how to do going from college to playing going from high school to playing in college was like, wait, if I don't like work my ass off just to even catch the ball, like, I'm never even going to touch it. You just, in high school, you just run around in circles, you go catch the ball, like whatever. It's super easy. But like the defense is much tighter in college, and I don't think we do a great job of setting our man up. So it's like walking down into the lane, again, put your arm into him a little bit, and then pop out real quick and make these aggressive moves just to catch the ball. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, wait, I've got to catch and shoot 3 because I did a good job just setting my man up. Like, there are just a lot of things like that I don't think this team has done a very good job of doing.
And you hit on the 4 out 1 in thing. Sorry, if you're Hubert Davis, I kind of feel for him because eventually you just throw your 5 best players out there and figure it out from there. Because if 4 of the best players are guards and they're 6'4" or under, you can't really take one of them off the floor on offense. You just got to work with it on defense. So I feel for him on that. You just take your best 5 guys.
We have to play physical. We have to play really fundamentally sound. Like you can box out a guy who's bigger than you. Just put your backside into him, put your butt into him. Refs call over the back. Like they just do. If a guy extends on you because you were in between him and the basket and you move him out of the lane and he throws you to the ground or he pushes you in the back, like refs blow and whistle every time. So we just have to play a little bit more physically underneath the basket and be more fundamentally sound from a boxing out and a defensive perspective, I think.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, so what was I gonna say? What I'm looking for this season, like, is this team like, are they gonna be at top of the ACC? Like right now, it's wide open. So I'm interested to see how the ACC kind of shakes out because there are chances for tons of wins. My point was UCLA win was huge, and UNC has been in these games. They're in against Kansas, number 1 ranked, or they were number 1.
Yep.
In the games against Michigan State, they should have won that one. I think Auburn and Alabama, obviously both in the state of Alabama, there were the 2 games where I think they were outmatched. I think those 2 teams in the SEC will be 2 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the nation. But they've been in every other game. I think Florida is really good. They're the number 7 team, and I think that game was a game UNC could easily win. They have tons of stars. Walter Clayton is a stud.
We had leads late in the Florida game. Multiple leads, 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left. Like we had leads. And
UCLA may turn out to be a really good team in the they're in the Big Ten now. So there's a lot of wins left. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's you've got to win these gimmies in the ACC. Not sure who that's really going to be.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have. So we'll probably talk to y'all after one of the next ACC games. We may do some off-topic stuff there. It's always fun to get people's opinions on stuff that's not related to basketball or football. But also want to talk about the promo code breakingt.com/BHO. Go to that website, and then if you use that link, that's a referral link for tons of UNC football shirts, cutoff sweatshirts, UNC basketball shirts, there's RJ shirts, Elliot Cadeau, NIL stuff, general UNC stuff, really great sweatshirts and t-shirts. breakingt.com/BHO. If you buy from that link, I get, and by I mean we, because I do give Connor some kickback on that for his production time. I get 10% of all sales. Buy some
shirts.
Dude, the Chapel Bill stuff sold.
I like it.
Tons. So those have been selling that and the sweatshirts. So it's a great Christmas gift, late Christmas gift. All right, anything else, guys?
I'll put the link in the description for all those people that don't want to type it.
Yeah, I probably need to get another graphic made, maybe with that thing. And we're working on some other sponsors. Talked to a guy at a bar yesterday who makes like weed drinks, like THC drinks, and he was like, we'll sponsor your podcast or something. So
can we get a big hitter only concoction, big hitter only drink coming out of there?
Apparently these things are legal in North Carolina. It's like the Delta 8 or Delta 9. I don't know too much about it, but a lot of people are making those now. Anyway, y'all have for the holidays. Sponsors. Are you in Kernersville, Connor?
I am K Vegas, North Carolina. We are back home. So
where are you, Spenser?
Christmas and everything.
Yeah, back home in Asheville as well.
Okay. All in the great old North State. All right, guys. Appreciate your time. Rate, review, subscribe. BreakingT.com/BHO. We appreciate Tyler Hansbrough for his time, and we'll talk to you next time.